immediately I slipped out of my body and I hovered over my body. And, I always considered myself a really great person. As a young person, I thought, I'm a good soul. I'm going to go to heaven when I die. I was really shocked with what I saw after my first death. And what the lesson was, well, first of all, what I did see was they were like demonic little beings that were coming up out of the floorboards. They were, just like, the movie Ghost, then they had those little black, beings that were coming up
Hmm.
and taking the spirit away. That's what I saw. And it was shocking to me because, I had never tried drugs. I hadn't had a boyfriend till I was in my 20s, and overall I was, volunteer work. I was a good person. But there I was facing what we would know as the devil, toe to toe. And so I had to do a quick assessment. I had to think to myself, my gosh, okay, so if this thing is real, then there has to be a counterpart to this. There has to be, we're in the world of contrast. So there has to be God or Jesus. So I called in God and Jesus. I literally said, God and Jesus, be by my side now. And to my surprise, they showed up. Creator was to my right, Jesus was to my left. And immediately when this evil thing saw them, he ran and literally disappeared. He ran through the windows and was gone. And so I had the opportunity then and there to speak with Creator and say, why me? Why did this happen? And the message back was that I was vulnerable. I had no faith. I had no self-worth, and it felt that it could take my spirit, it could take my soul, because I was not grounded any longer. I had no faith. And so there I was, standing in an empty room because Creator and Jesus disappeared. And I thought, okay, I'll go lie down. I cleaned up the bed because I had been sick, and put all my laundry in the corner and cuddled myself in the bed thinking, did that actually happen? And that's when I looked up at the sky, or up at the roof, and this black smoke, it was like a thick smoke, started to come through the ceiling and down the walls. And I started to panic thinking, oh no, the thing's back. Okay, God, I do believe in you. I do believe in Jesus. I started to backtrack because, just moments later, I was thinking, I don't know if that really happened. Did that actually happen? And then the smoke started to come in. And that's when I was like, okay, just kidding. I really do believe in you. And, but the black smoke still started to come. And so I got down on my hands and knees again, and I started to pray again, please, I need your help. And I heard this booming, deep voice say, you're safe, just rest. And something to that effect, right? So I laid down on the bed and I thought to myself, I give up. If this is my time, I just give up. And this black smoke surrounded me, and all of a sudden I was in total blackness, and I felt like I was floating, but I couldn't see my body. I couldn't see anything. It was like my consciousness was in this black void, is what they came to tell me what it was. And it was a neat place because I'm Aboriginal, I'm Métis, from Canada, right? So I'm Ojibwe and Cree, and our elders would teach us, that Raven is the gatekeeper of the black void, where all illusion begins. And I realized this is the black void I'm in, right? And there was so much love. It was like what people talk about heaven. They talk about being in heaven and feeling that utter love. That's what I felt in the black void. And so I was able to ask a lot of questions. And what was really neat was I came to understand that when you would think of a question or say a question, it would roll out over like black. It almost looked like oil slicks, right? But it would go out to the horizon, and then all of a sudden, this waves of wisdom, I called it, would come zooming back and wash over me with the answers. And I did this for what felt like 10 hours. But, time we came to learn, or I came to learn later on in my second near-death experience, that time isn't time. So at any rate, I stayed in the black void. I was downloaded with a lot of information. Mainly about how, you know, your thoughts are so powerful, and that in the black void, I could not create any negative thoughts. I tried because I had a habit of doing this. I had a habit of beating myself up, emotionally, and having really negative dialogue. And that's why I think I found myself in my first death. But no, it wouldn't let me even expand on any negative thoughts. It was only positive thoughts in the black void. So it was like a reboot for me. If you were to think of this world as a computer generated program, and that this is an illusion, it was really, the black void is like a reboot where you go in and you start all over and you start to think, okay, what do I really want in life? So I came out of the black void by, the questions stopped, and it just became very still. And I realized then that this was my time to just rest and digest all that was given to me. This is why we're here. This is one of the biggest things, biggest reasons why we're here in the human experiment, is that it is for us to take responsibility of our thoughts and to clean up our stinking thinking. So they were showing me that it's our responsibility to, like I said, clean up the stinking thinking thoughts. And the way to do that is to ask a better question. So when you start on negative thoughts, you have to ask yourself, okay, is this the best thought that I can have about this situation? And if it's no, then you have to take that stinking thinking thought, put it in the cosmic garbage can, and replace it with a better thought. And this is what I was being shown in the waves of wisdom. They were showing me through images, through, auditory, like mind to mind discussions, that simply keep asking, is this the best thought that I can have about this situation? And if you keep hearing no, then you got to keep going until, is this the best thought? What is the best thought that I can have about this situation? And then have that thought. And if you get a yes, that yes, this is getting up there. This is probably one of the best thoughts that you can have. Then you know that you're in alignment with who you are, to move forward in through the black void, to be able to create the life that you want to create. Because in that black void, there is no room for negativity. Immediately, again, I slipped out of the top of my head and was hovering over my body. I was like, not again. Are you kidding me? And so as I'm hovering there, this huge brown bird came from my right and swooped down and got me and picked me up from behind my neck and lifted me up. And we went out of my room through the roof, and we just kept going up, 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 up. And I could watch as, we were leaving Earth down below. It was really an amazing experience. And I mean, I had had a lot of out of body experiences up until that time, but nothing like this, because we went into clouds and the clouds got so bright that they were blinding white. And it was like we almost turned a corner and went into like another cloud structure, and it was a big open white space. It was, I often say that it was like the Matrix, that blinding white room.
Hmm.
That he was in, Neil was in. That's how it was. It took a while for my eyes to adjust, but also my ears, because the pressure was really strong. Like it felt like, a lot of pressure on the ears. So, anyways, the bird gently put me down on a beautiful, it was like a stool, but it was made out of a cloud. And as I sat on it, instantly I could feel the love that was in this room. It was overwhelming and it was so beautiful. And so I'm looking down at this stool thinking, how is that emanating up through me? Like how is this working? What is this made out of? And just then I looked up because I could sense someone in front of me. I looked up and it was God, or what I knew to be God. And I remember, he shocked me so much that it made me jump. And all of a sudden, all of these images started to be downloaded. And what I realized very quickly was that I was seeing him as what I would believe God would look like, because that's what I grew up with, the older man with the beard and the white and the shrouds and everything. And I realized that he goes by many different names and many different images. And so I had to ask, what do I call you? And he said, it matters less the name you call me as long as you call my name. And I was like, wow, that's beautiful, right? And so I decided to call him God, but I realized at that moment that if I had been brought up with any other faiths, I would have seen this pure light energy as different forms. I soon saw that God was creative through all the different religions, because that was what I was asking was, why do we have all these religions? Why don't you just give us one? Why do you go through many names? And what came through was that uh, in order for humanity, which is many different species, I believe, alien species that have come here, and hybrids of different species, they all come with different beliefs. They all come with different thought processes, because this is a human experiment of love. Right? Of finding love, working with love, working united in love.